WWE just betrayed Sami Zayn, and you won't believe who's behind it. The locker room is in absolute chaos right now, and what WWE management just allowed to happen backstage is nothing short of a slap in the face to one of the most beloved superstars on the roster. Sami Zayn, the man who has given his heart and soul to this company, who has bled for the fans, who has delivered classic after classic, is now being forced to fight a war that WWE created. And the worst part? Management is pretending like they don't see what's happening. Before I expose the entire conspiracy, answer me this: is Sami Zayn the most disrespected underdog in WWE history, or does someone else deserve that title? Drop your answer below, because what I'm about to reveal will make your blood boil. Modern Family Takeover, or MFT as they're being called, has been running roughshod over Monday Night Raw for weeks now. They've attacked legends, they've destroyed equipment, they've made it clear that they don't respect anyone or anything about WWE's legacy. And where has management been? Nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. It's like Triple H and the entire executive team have decided to just let these guys do whatever they want, consequences be damned. But when Sami Zayn decided he'd had enough and started recruiting allies backstage, suddenly everyone wants to pay attention. The formation of this five-man team didn't happen in a boardroom or during a planned segment. This happened in the trenches, in the real backstage area where superstars gather between matches and segments. According to multiple sources who were present, Sami Zayn walked into catering after MFT had just demolished another mid-card wrestler, and he said something that changed everything: if management won't protect us, we protect each other. Those words sparked a movement that has now become the most talked about faction in wrestling. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is the part that should make every wrestling fan furious. The five men who stepped up to join Sami Zayn's fight aren't the top guys. They're not the chosen ones. They're not the superstars who get featured in every main event and every promotional poster. These are the workers, the grinders, the guys who show up every single week and give everything they have for this business, only to be overlooked time and time again. Question for you: can you guess all five members of Sami's team before I reveal them? Comment your predictions and let's see who really knows their WWE roster. The first person to answer Sami's call was Chad Gable. Now, if you've been paying attention, you know that Chad Gable has every reason to be frustrated with WWE management. This man is one of the most talented technical wrestlers in the world, an Olympic athlete, someone who can have a 5-star match with literally anyone, and yet he's been stuck in comedy segments and meaningless feuds for months. When Sami approached him, Gable didn't even hesitate. He looked Sami dead in the eye and said, "It's about time someone stood up." That's the kind of respect Sami commands backstage. The second member shocked everyone who heard about it: Ricochet. Wait, you might be thinking, didn't Ricochet leave WWE? Well, here's the thing that nobody's talking about. There are persistent rumors, and I mean strong rumors from multiple reliable sources, that Ricochet's departure might not be as permanent as we thought. Whether he's actually part of this team or if WWE is working some kind of angle remains to be seen, but his name was absolutely mentioned in those backstage discussions. If Ricochet is somehow involved, that changes everything about this storyline. The third ally is someone who has been criminally underutilized for years: Apollo Crews. This man has all the tools to be a main event player. He's got the look, the athleticism, the charisma when WWE actually lets him show it. But instead, he's been bouncing between the mid-card and catering for so long that fans almost forgot he was on the roster. When Sami reached out to Apollo, sources say that Apollo was frustrated to the point of tears because finally, someone saw his value. Finally, someone wanted him as a partner rather than as enhancement talent. That's powerful, and that's the kind of storytelling WWE should be doing more of. The fourth member of this alliance is Akira Tozawa. Now, I know what some of you are thinking: Tozawa? Really? But hear me out, because this is actually brilliant. Tozawa has been one of the most consistently entertaining performers in WWE for years, even when he's been given absolutely nothing to work with. He's been a superhero, he's been in comedy acts, he's won the 24/7 championship more times than anyone can count, and through it all, he's shown up and performed. Bringing Tozawa into this group gives them speed, unpredictability, and someone who genuinely has nothing to lose. Here's a question: what's your favorite Akira Tozawa moment in WWE? Let me know in the comments. The fifth and final member is the one that makes this team truly dangerous: Shinsuke Nakamura. Yes, you heard that right. The king of strong style has apparently aligned himself with Sami Zayn's resistance movement, and if this is true, MFT should be very, very worried. Nakamura has been floating in that upper mid-card purgatory for way too long, despite being one of the most talented and most over superstars WWE has. His inclusion brings main event credibility, international star power, and the kind of hard-hitting offense that could legitimately challenge MFT's dominance. But here's what makes this entire situation so infuriating: WWE management allegedly knew about MFT's planned attacks weeks in advance. This wasn't some rogue group going into business for themselves. This was a planned angle, signed off on by the decision-makers, and they deliberately let it escalate to the point where the roster felt unsafe. They wanted chaos. They wanted tension. They wanted the locker room divided because divided wrestlers are easier to control and less likely to band together to demand better treatment, better pay, or better creative direction. The modern family takeover themselves are a controversial group, and that's putting it mildly. Their whole gimmick seems to be disrespecting everything about traditional wrestling while claiming they're modernizing the industry. They've disrespected legends to their faces. They've mocked the history and traditions that built this company. They've made it clear that they believe their way is the only way forward, and anyone who disagrees is just old and outdated. It's the kind of heel work that generates real heat, but it's also the kind that can backfire if not handled carefully. What's particularly frustrating is how MFT has been protected by management in ways that other groups never were. When the Shield attacked people, there were consequences. When the Nexus invaded, John Cena was immediately positioned to fight back. But with MFT, it's like WWE management is scared of them, or worse, like management is complicit in their reign of terror. That's the real story here. That's what's making fans angry enough to flood social media with complaints and theories. Sami Zayn's history with underdog factions makes him the perfect leader for this resistance. Remember his time with the Bloodline? He wasn't the strongest or the most decorated, but he was the heart. He was the one who held everything together through pure passion and belief. He's doing the same thing now, taking a group of overlooked and underutilized talents and turning them into something that could legitimately challenge the status quo. Question: do you think Sami's team can actually defeat MFT, or is this just another case of WWE building up underdogs only to crush them? Comment your prediction. The backstage politics surrounding this storyline are fascinating and infuriating in equal measure. There are reports that several top stars were asked to join Sami's team but refused because they didn't want to risk their own positions by going against what management apparently wants. Can you imagine being so concerned about your spot that you won't stand up for what's right, even in a scripted wrestling storyline? That tells you everything you need to know about the culture WWE has created backstage. Training sessions for this five-man team have reportedly been intense. They're not just preparing for regular matches, they're preparing for war. MFT has shown they'll use weapons, they'll attack outside the ring, they'll do whatever it takes to maintain their dominance. Sami's team needs to be ready for anything, and according to people who've seen them train, they're taking this more seriously than anything they've done in years. There's a sense that this could be a career-defining moment for all of them. The fan reaction to this team formation has been overwhelmingly positive, which should tell WWE something important. Fans are desperate for new stars, for fresh matchups, for storylines that feel organic and meaningful rather than forced and corporate. When you give wrestlers a reason to fight that feels real, when you let them show their personalities and their passion, fans respond. It's not complicated, but somehow WWE keeps forgetting this basic principle. Social media has exploded with fan-made graphics, team names, and fantasy booking for how the storyline should play out. Some fans are calling them Sami's Army. Others prefer the Resistance. There's even a faction of fans pushing for the Underestimated as the official name. The organic groundswell of support is something money can't buy, and it's something WWE should be capitalizing on instead of fighting against. What should Sami's team be called? Drop your suggestions in the comments and let's see if we can come up with something better than WWE's creative team would. The potential for this storyline is absolutely massive if WWE doesn't screw it up, which, let's be honest, they have a history of doing. This could be the launching pad for multiple new main event stars. This could be the feud that defines the next year of Monday Night Raw. This could be the story that brings lapsed fans back and creates new fans who are hungry for something different. But it requires commitment, it requires follow-through, and it requires WWE to actually pull the trigger on elevating these talents rather than using them to make other people look good. Behind the scenes, there are allegedly concerns from some veterans about whether the storyline is sending the wrong message. The idea of wrestlers having to form their own protection team because management won't protect them hits a little too close to home for some people who've actually experienced that in real life. Wrestling has a long history of management turning a blind eye to locker room issues, and using that as a storyline might be seen as insensitive by some of the older generation. The match possibilities with this five-man team are endless. Imagine Chad Gable and Shinsuke Nakamura working together as a technical powerhouse duo. Picture Apollo Crews and Ricochet, if he's actually involved, creating high-flying combinations that MFT can't counter. Think about Akira Tozawa being the wild card who shows up at the perfect moment to turn the tide. And through it all, Sami Zayn is the glue, the motivator, the leader who believes in all of them even when they don't believe in themselves. MFT's response to the formation of this team will be crucial. If they dismiss Sami's allies as nobodies and jokes, they risk making themselves look weak when those nobodies start winning matches. If they take them seriously from the beginning, they validate the threat and make the eventual showdown feel even bigger. It's a delicate balance, and how WWE books the build-up will determine whether this becomes a legendary storyline or just another missed opportunity. The locker room dynamics have shifted dramatically since this team formed. Wrestlers who were previously keeping their heads down and hoping not to become MFT's next target are now watching Sami and his allies with a mixture of admiration and fear. Some want to join the fight. Others are warning them that they're making a huge mistake by going against what management seems to want. It's created a divide that's spilling over into every aspect of the show. Historical parallels to other wrestling factions make this story even more compelling. This is shades of the original NWO storyline, where a group of invaders threatened to destroy the company from within. It echoes DX's rebellion against authority. It recalls the Nexus invasion and the chaos they created. But it's also uniquely its own thing because it's not about invaders or rebels, it's about forgotten talents finally getting their moment to fight back. The financial implications for these wrestlers could be significant if this storyline takes off. Main event positioning means better merchandise sales, higher pay-per-view bonuses, and more leverage in contract negotiations. For guys like Chad Gable and Apollo Crews who have been stuck in neutral for years, this could be the difference between being released in the next round of budget cuts and becoming untouchable on the roster. That's real-world pressure adding legitimacy to the storyline. WWE's track record with multi-man teams has been hit or miss, and that's being generous. For every Shield or Evolution, there's a League of Nations or a Retribution that crashed and burned. The difference usually comes down to one thing: commitment. When WWE commits to a faction, books them strong, and gives them meaningful storylines, they succeed. When WWE treats them as an afterthought or a way to kill time, they fail. Which version will Sami's team get? Only time will tell, but fans are watching closely and ready to revolt if this gets mishandled. The ultimate question is whether WWE will have the courage to actually let Sami Zayn's team win this war. Not just win a match here and there, but actually defeat MFT, overcome the odds, and prove that passion and brotherhood can triumph over entitled bullies. That's the story fans want to see. That's the story that would mean something. But will WWE deliver it, or will they protect MFT because they're newer and younger, leaving Sami and his team looking like noble losers? So here's my final challenge to you: is this the most important storyline in WWE right now, or are there bigger issues the company should be focusing on? And more importantly, will WWE have the guts to see this through, or will they chicken out halfway and leave us all disappointed again? Sound off in the comments because the wrestling world needs to make its voice heard on this one.